Blood in the urine is the most common symptom of bladder cancer. Don't ignore this warning sign, not even once.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Welcome to Community Close-Up. I'm your host, Sharen Skelly, and today's guest is Liz Thomas, and Liz is with Keystone Children and Family Services. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for having me.
And Liz is the Director of Programs and Services there, so you have a big job.
I do, yeah.
I was looking at the website, and I am familiar with Keystone. I'm not familiar with all the services and programs, but there is a whole lot of them. So I imagine that keeps you very, very busy.
Mm-hmm. It does. And I'm not the director of all of them, so but certainly enough of them. Yeah, it does keep you busy and keeps you hopping.
Well, I invited you on the program because Family Day is coming up, and what better way to celebrate Family Day than to talk about programs that we deliver for families in Grey and Bruce. Mm-hmm. So like I said, I am familiar with some of the programs with Keystone, but for people that are watching the program, I guess we could just begin with explaining to the viewers, what exactly is Keystone Family and Children's Services? What is it all about?
So Keystone Child, Youth, and Family Services is the lead agency for children's mental health in Grey and Bruce. So we provide services to children, to adolescents, and their caregivers on the whole spectrum of mental health. Everything from prevention to more intensive services. And we cover all the ages from 0 to 17. So we provide a variety of services aimed at just improving the overall wellness of families in Grey and Bruce. And we do that through a variety of different means, whether it's counseling or community workshops, or really helping moms, even just when they're pregnant, to help them be as healthy as possible, right up into more intensive live-in treatment services if that's what the family would benefit from. So we really focus on wellness and contributing to a well community as much as we can.
Who funds Keystone Services?
So we're largely funded by the Ministry of Health. We do have some services that are funded by the Ministry of Children and Community and Social Services, as well as Health Canada. But predominantly it's the Ministry of Health. So there is no fee for people to access our services. Yeah, everything
okay.
is.
Now, if you wanted to access the services, do you need to have a doctor's note, or how do you refer?
No, I would say the majority of our referrals are self-referral. So it could be parents or legal guardians contacting the agency. The children and youth can refer themselves. There's no need for a physician referral.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And like you say, you serve from newborn right to age 17. I know we in our house, we're a multi-generational household, and my daughter-in-law had a set of twins, and she had a little one too. So I guess they thought it would be a good idea to just sort of have, and it was during COVID. So there was a lot of stress. So we used, is it cradlelink? Is that the name of the service? It's a wonderful program for any new mother that's, in a stressful situation. And they have volunteers that work with that program, and it's an amazing program, and it just makes sure that moms are healthy and babies are doing well, and incredible. And the fact that volunteers are making it happen, and it's overseen by a professional, of course, but just a wonderful service for the community, for moms, for babies, and all because of Keystone. So there's one program that ensures a healthy community.
Yes, and I think if for any of us who have had a new baby, it's a stressful time if the environment is perfect. So add in some twins or maybe some toddlers running around, or cradlelink is a wonderful program, and we couldn't do it without our volunteers. And we do have the nurses attached to the cradlelink program. So it's a home visiting program just to provide reassurance and support in any way that we can.
That's right. And during COVID, they did the visits outside. It was near the end of COVID, so they had all the precautions, and they did the visit outside, and everything was safe, and it was remarkable, and it was we were very grateful. And that's one program that I can say is something that people should, if they think that they could use it, check it out on the website, and I can vouch for that. So what other programs do you?
I'm glad you had a positive experience with it, Sharen.
I can't imagine someone not having a positive experience with it. What other programs do you have?
So I can start with those sort of prevention programs. We have cradlelink, as you mentioned. We have Healthy Beginnings, which really is supporting moms during their pregnancy, be as healthy as possible, mentally and physically. We have parent mutual aid groups, which are sort of peer support groups for parents. And we always have a staff who will look after the small children, so that the parents can just provide support to one another. We have Building Resiliency, which is a support we provide to Grey County licensed childcare centers if they're having issues or concerns about, just providing support to staff and to children and their families within the daycare setting. We have Early On programs, which is where we, again, a group of caregivers meet in the community, and there's someone there to help look after the little ones. And again, it's just providing that mutual support to reduce any feelings of isolation and have someone be able to answer the millions of questions you have when you're responsible for this little tiny human being. So those are a lot of our prevention programs. Then we have our counseling programs. So our counseling programs, it's a voluntary service, and our counseling program we do face-to-face sessions, we can do virtual sessions. We have 2 main offices in Hanover and Owen Sound, but we do try to travel and find sort of satellite locations, so people knowing how vast Grey Bruce is and how it's not necessarily the easiest place to travel from point A to point B. We try to reduce those barriers as much as we can by finding a desk to sit at and be with people in their own communities. So counseling, we do everything from anxiety, ADHD, eating disorders, depression. We see children and youth who may have thoughts of hurting themselves. And we work with the family as a whole, because it's hard to just work with a child, or sometimes difficult just to work with the adolescent. So as much as possible, we try to engage the family as a unit in the treatment planning, because we know that leads to better outcomes. And we do a lot of work. Our counselors do a lot of workshops that are open to the public, and then more sort of targeted groups for our clients. Everything from holistic arts-based groups that helps kids and adolescents sort of engage in therapeutic work through the use of art and art therapy, to therapy groups that are focused more on how to regulate your own emotions and how to tolerate distress when it happens. And I think we all could have benefited from that over the last, few years with the pandemic. How do we tolerate things that we can't necessarily control and we don't like? So our counseling team is very, very busy. We also have a live-in treatment program, which is it's a nice home, so nobody could tell it's a live-in treatment program from the outside, and it provides sort of assessment and stabilization, with the goal of keeping children, and it starts at age 12, can access the live-in treatment program, 12 to 17. Keeping children out of the hospital, but providing them with more wraparound intensive supports. So that they live at the live-in treatment program house for 3 weeks. It can be extended longer if needed. And they're provided with a lot of daily programming, access to a classroom, everything like that. So that's more on the intensive end of the continuum of services. And the one sort of last programming that I would talk about is our special needs strategy. So Keystone is the organization that does coordinated service planning for families when they have a child with complex needs. So usually these are children who have quite significant medical conditions, possibly combined with developmental conditions or mental health conditions. So sometimes there's a lot of service providers involved, and it can be really overwhelming for families. So we have a coordinated service planning program where we coordinate all the service plans. We create one sort of treatment plan, which clearly lays out who's doing what. And it's also the program that opens the door up for families to have the opportunity for paid respite services, to give parents a break, and let the children have, access to other adults in a fun and sometimes community environment. And it also is the door, access to the door opening for possible longer term residential treatment if that's what is needed. So that's our special needs strategy. And included in that program portfolio is FASD coordination. So FASD stands for fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. And our workers in that program provide a lot of education to caregivers on how to parent differently that might be more effective for children who do have fetal alcohol spectrum disorder.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you work at all with the First Nations community, or do they have their own programs?
Both Saugeen and Chippewas of Nawash do have their own mental health programs. We try to partner as much as possible to share resources and opportunities. I think we could certainly be doing more with the Indigenous communities, and we do have a staff member that we share with Saugeen, and it's a great resource for Saugeen, and it's a great resource for also enhancing the capacity of Keystone workers to sort of think with that cultural competencies and sensitivity lens. Yeah.
Yes, because it's important that we have that ability to, care for clients with the cultural competency. And of course, we don't have that. We have to learn that. It has to be learned. Do you go into the schools?
We do. We do as needed. I'm sorry, you can hear all my little beeps of new emails coming up. I should have silenced them before. We do go into the schools as requested. School Mental Health Ontario has invested a lot in mental health. So both school boards here in Grey Bruce, the Catholic Board and the Blue Water Board, have a lot of their own mental health workers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they tend to do what we call tier 1 and tier 2 services. So that's more of the prevention and education. When it starts,
Okay.
when it gets to more sort of tier 3 or tier 4, which are sort of more intense or more acute
Right.
issues, we'll often work together with the school board mental health folks, or we'll take on the cases, because I think they're all our children.
Yeah, right.
Provider is, they're all our kids. So we all
You
have
do more.
responsibility.
So they do more prevention, you do the treatment. Well, you do prevention too,
Yeah,
but the schools do prevention and you're more prevention and treatment. You go the extra steps. That's right.
And I'm sure if the school mental health counselors were listening, they'd say they end up doing a lot of treatment too, which is correct. They do. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. The children are there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're in their care, so they have to.
Yeah.
They have to follow through on the treatment plan if the child's there in their care. Now, Bruce Gray Children and Family Services, which that used to be known as Children's Aid, right? Yeah. Do you ever work with them?
We work a lot with Bruce Gray Child and Family Services. They're a very significant partner in the work that we do. We work with a lot with not just children that are in their care, but also children that they are also working with, but the children are living in their home environment. So we do a lot of partnering, and we're in the process right now of forming a working group with Bruce Gray Child and Family Services, just to look at, are there new and creative ways that we can collaborate, especially for some of these really hard to serve families. So that's sort of an exciting thing on the horizon.
Yeah. When we say Family Day, family is such a complex word, isn't it? Because family, we always, I was raised in the 60s, 70s. Family is not, there's never really been a traditional family. That was sort of a myth anyway. I mean, even growing up, there was single parents. They were single mothers were they had scarlet letters almost, they were divorced women were, kind of looked at, as if they'd done something wrong. I remember that, if you were the divorced women in town were, what did they do wrong to become divorced? There were always same-sex couples. They couldn't get married, but there were same-sex couples always. But there have always been foster children and children raised by their grandparents or aunts and uncles. There's always been that sort of family, but just now we recognize them. They're now recognized and accepted for the most part, but there's still those people that are vocal that don't accept them. But, that's the family, and friends can be your family. But then those types of families sometimes have, because they're so complex, sometimes they have challenges that, even the traditional family has challenges, but they come to you for help and advice, and hopefully they can get it it doesn't take long to get it. Does it take long to get a referral? Does it not?
It sometimes, Sharon, it really depends on sometimes the time of the year, but we really try to provide as quick of a service as possible, because time is of the essence when you're struggling. And, when we hear of some of these larger centers, in big cities that have a year and a half wait, like I can't imagine struggling or having a child that's struggling and having to wait. So we typically try to get people in within a couple of weeks. And if we feel that they're high risk, right, when they contact our agency, we get them in within 2 business days.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah. So we try our best. And I should also mention that Keystone was part of a new provincial project I shouldn't say project because project sounds short term, and this is hopefully going to be a long-term program. It's called One Stop Talk, and it is a virtual service where families can access a single session therapy with a trained clinician, either through a web platform or through a phone service. So Keystone has been part of the first phase of this provincial initiative. There's 6 organizations across Ontario. So we provide clinicians time, essentially, to be those clinicians who receive the calls and the web-based virtual requests for assistance twice a week. But it is a service that's presently running Monday to Friday from 12 noon till 8 o'clock at night, and on Saturdays from 12 until 4. And as more organizations across the province come on board to One Stop Talk, the hope is that those hours and days will be extended even greater. So that's one way that we're trying to help people quicker. And there is a lot of research out there that says sometimes, in a lot of cases, that one single session is all families need to sort of equip them with some skills to get through. And they may still come for ongoing, counseling services at Keystone. That's okay. It's One Stop Talk is about providing help in the moment.
Mm-hmm. And gives them the confidence, they've gotten some help from a professional, gives them the confidence to go ahead and manage the challenge that they have at the moment.
Exactly.
That's sort of the greatest solution.
Yeah.
Whoever thought of that.
And I'll do a little plug right now. I'll just give the phone number and the website.
Sure.
One Stop Talk. So the website is One Stop Talk, so it's all one word, .ca. So children and youth and their parents or caregivers can go onto that platform and request a virtual session, and they'll be put in the queue for a virtual session. Or you can also phone, so it's 1-855-416-8255, which is TALK, TALK. So yeah, it's a new service, and it doesn't mean you can still have a counselor at Keystone or a counselor somewhere else and access the service. There aren't any barriers. Yeah.
So if you go to your website, is it on there too?
It's going on our website sometime this week.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to Keystone Children and Family Services, Children, Youth and Family Services,
Youth and Family
Services, you find a lot of information, you go through, but you also find a set of workshops, and it's under events, I think.
Yeah.
Under events. So you offer a lot of workshops. Mm-hmm. And can you talk about a few of the events that are coming up?
Sure. So we do run a variety of workshops, as you mentioned, but there are certainly ones that tend to be most in demand. So we run those on a very regular basis. And I would say that's coping with my anxious child. That workshop runs quite frequently, as well as parenting shoulder to shoulder with my teen. Just like I mentioned earlier, being responsible for this tiny little human can be overwhelming. Being in charge of a teenager can be overwhelming. So parenting shoulder to shoulder with your teen is another one that's quite popular, as well as it's called Making a Shift. And that's a parenting workshop that's not about parenting better or anything like that. It's just about parenting differently. Understanding that the child brain and the adolescent brain isn't fully developed. We sometimes need to remember to alter our language or just parent in different ways that may be more effective.
That's right. You're very right. Mm-hmm. Now, do you do any fundraising, or is Keystone free of fundraising?
We do fundraising. We have an annual golf tournament, and this year it is on June 22nd. If anybody wanted information about that, they can call our Keystone office. I'm hoping that in the future we'll do more and more fundraising opportunities. That's certainly one thing that this new working group with Bruce Gray Child and Family Services, we might try to do some joint fundraising efforts. I mean, there's so many charities and foundations out there. It can be hard for people to try and figure out, which one they want to donate to. So any partnering we can do for fundraising activities, I think makes it easier for folks. Yeah, but right now we have our big golf tournament on June 22nd. So who doesn't love golf other than me?
Well, I golfed once. I found it, I won't say boring, but I can't just stand around waiting for somebody to, I can't, I just couldn't. But my son loves to golf and everybody else does.
I'm great at driving a golf cart and I'm great at mini golf. That's about it.
Yeah, I like mini golf. So there you go. That's golf. Do you have a portal on your website to donate money? Like you go in, push the button?
Really good question, Sharon. I don't know the answer to that. I was just on the website. Yeah, we should. You're right. I'm going to make a little note of that.
So many of the places that people I interview do. So I was just going to say, go to the website and find that. And do you need volunteers?
Volunteers are always welcome at our organization. We do try to have a very active family engagement sort of advisory committee, which is made up of family members who've been there, they've walked the walk, so they have that special expertise to help us, figure out our programs and what we as an organization could be doing differently based on their expertise. And we have a youth advisory, and it's the same thing. It's youth who've been there, who've walked the walk, who want to give back, or youth who just have a special passion and interest for wellness and mental health. And again, they advise us on how we could be doing things. And then, as you mentioned sort of at the beginning of the show, Sharon, we have volunteers who are very active in some of our prevention programs, like our cradlelink program with supporting, moms with little ones.
So they can go on the website and find the information about volunteering. Yeah, just go on. So the website is just Keystone Child and Youth.
Our website is KeystoneGrayBruce.org. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. KeystoneBruceGray.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mark, do we have a guest yet? I don't know. Okay, well, we'll keep going. So the website is keystone.org. All right.
KeystoneBruceGray.org.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining me here today. And we'll have you again on Community Close-Up. And thank you to all our viewers. And we'll see you again on Rogers TV. Join us again on Community Close-Up. And bye for now.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.